Survivor's ready. Go!
Travis spoken.
Boston Rob and Amber are gonna do it.
This is a business trip, as I like to say.
You, Brad Culpepper.
I'm tired of you and the fucking chicken.
You can call me the puppet master. They can be my little puppets.
It's not like you're making a deal with the devil here.
You get to milk your own milk, I guess.
Who the hell voted for me?
Chicken.
We got enough rocks here, too. We could build a pretty decent shelter just using rocks.
I'm supposed to talk Lima to you. You understand that better?
Direct from Hobart, it's time for the only Survivor podcast in Australia dedicated to Survivor, bringing you all the latest interviews, episodes, and opinions from the greatest reality show on the planet. It's Survivor Oz, and here's your host, Ben Waterworth. It is Survivor Oz, Australia's #1 TV and film podcast, as we continue on with our Survivor Second Chance campaign interviews, and it is a huge pleasure to welcome back our next guest. He came on the show a couple of years ago to chat about his time on Survivor Pearl Islands, did speak a little bit about his desire to come back and play again, and now he's got that opportunity to come back and play again if you vote for him to return. I do, of course, speak of the one, the only, Mr. Andrew Savage. Andrew, welcome back to Survivor Oz.
Hey, Survivor, thank you so much for having me on. I truly appreciate it. It's great to be on.
Well, it's a pleasure, mate, to have you on here because this is exciting. The fact that you've got this opportunity to return after all these years. You must be over the moon just to be given this opportunity and to be able to campaign for those votes.
Oh, it's crazy. It's a dream come true. It's been a dream for 12 years, honestly. I never thought that this would actually happen. So I wake up in the morning, I have to pinch myself and just, thank my lucky stars that I'm on the list. Fingers crossed that it works out.
How have you found the campaigning so far? I mean, we're only a couple of days away now from this all closing and the cast being announced, but almost 2 weeks worth of campaigning behind you. Have you been enjoying it all the interactions and everything?
Yes, a couple things. So I find it absolutely exhilarating. I have to say, and this completely blindsided me, the love and support from kind of the Survivor superfans for me has been absolutely jaw-dropping and overwhelming, and I just can't tell you how much I appreciate all that. It's just amazing. The other thing is that it's wildly entertaining. Just watching Jeff Varner and on all the posts, it's wildly entertaining. And the last thing is, there's only been a couple of weeks, but I will tell you that it's absolutely exhausting, right? So trying to keep my day job and on all that entails, and then also Twitter and Facebook and all the other stuff, it's exhausting. So I'm just so excited about Wednesday, and hopefully it all works out.
Is those nerves getting a little bit stronger as each day gets a little bit closer? Because, we're only about, 2 days away, aren't we, from this all being announced?
Yeah, they are. So I started out fairly confident, and then less so as each day passes, and I keep looking at that list, and I'm like, there's some serious kick-butt guys on that list, and I was 12 years ago, so my confidence is kind of spiraling out of control very quickly.
How have you been finding the fans in terms of the old school campaign? Because I know there's been a lot of love for you old schoolers, sort of from the first 8 to 10 seasons, I suppose. And do you think that could get you over the line for this return?
Well, I hope so, yes. I've found that the love has been amazing, and I love kind of the nostalgia for the old schoolers. And it was interesting to me that I've read a bunch of tweets and folks saying about the folks that have been on more recent seasons, and there's some folks that are saying, you know what, we just saw them. Why would we want to see them again? We want to, where are they now, the old schoolers? And they also, I think it's a fascinating kind of psychological and sociological experiment to take the old-timers when the game was very different, put them on the new game with some recent players, and see what happens. Right? What a wild experiment to see how that plays out.
Yeah, and it's also, of course, the adaptability as well, exactly as you were saying, because, I mean, the game, as much as there are a lot of elements that have remained the same over the years, there are a lot of things that have changed. I mean, you guys didn't have idols, you guys didn't have all that sort of thing. So, I mean, how do you feel that aspect will make your game adapt should you be successful in getting back onto this season?
Yeah, I love the new game. So the new game, from what I can see sitting on the sidelines, is the mental game, the personal game, is Survivor on steroids compared to when I played. And it seems as if the first hour and a half on that beach can very well lay the foundation for your entire existence out on that island. So it's game on steroids. You have to adapt very quickly, and then you got the hidden immunity idols, and keep an eye out for that. And essentially, from what I can see, and I'm a huge fan of the show, of course, you just have to be unbelievably vigilant and keep your eyes open all the time and never really not play the game. You got to be entirely focused and with your radar up all the time, and that's the way it should be, right? I mean, greatest game in the history of television, and don't let your guard down, or else the next thing you know, Probst is snuffing your torch.
And with all that in mind, I mean, are there key elements to your game a second time around that you feel you need to address and that you need to change up to suit kind of those things that you were just saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So my strategy, my mental game when I played in Pearl Islands, I didn't really have to have this incredible strategic game, largely because the folks on the Morgan tribe, we just loved each other. And we never hinted that I was going to go home, that I was going to get any votes against me, so I didn't have to really play that strategic game. So that's what I need to focus on, and definitely. So I'm super fit, not to sound arrogant, but compared to when I played Pearl Islands, I'm fitter now physically, and I think the challenges will be an absolute blast. I just have to focus on the strategic game and working on that, because I'd never really kind of exercised the strategic muscles in Pearl Islands.
And of course, you're hoping that a certain Outcast twist doesn't rear its ugly head 24 seasons later, Andrew.
Exactly. You never know. I'll tell you this, though, honestly. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So if there's an Outcast, I'm an absolute idiot if it bites me in the butt again, right? Everyone should know better. We got Redemption Island. There's all sorts of things. And I would think in this season, and I would think that Probst and Mark Burnett and those guys that are just brilliant strategists and schemers, that with a second chance season, they're going to throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at us. And so it should be a wildly entertaining season. And with second chancers, those are the folks that should keep their eyes open and not be surprised by anything.
Yeah.
And so my sense is, the production team may try to pull a fast one and surprise us, and we'll see who has the upper hand.
Well, I think that they should, pull a Swifty on you on Wednesday night and say, after they announce the cast, like, the game is on, here's your first challenge, like, we're playing for immunity straight away, like, some sort of big twist in front of America, millions of people watching live. That would be fun.
I agree. I totally agree. And frankly, I don't know what's going on, right? They have a couple of folks from this season that are still on the list. One of them could win. Is that person ineligible? How does that work? And the whole thing about if you want to vote for your favorite, you got to vote for 9 more, right? How does that work? Because if you choose, say you choose, Mike or Jerry Dietz, and they're your favorite, then you're forced to choose 9 other ones. Those 9 others are not your favorite. So it's really fascinating. I think there's going to be all sorts of twists and blindsides, and it could very well start Wednesday night, hopefully.
Yeah, well, it's interesting with that, because I know, sort of in speaking to some of the fans out there, that when it comes to voting, like, I think particularly with, say, some of the men, they get there and they can easily vote for 7 of you, but then it's kind of like, well, who are my final 3? And same with, like, the women. Like, you've got your set ones, and that's, I'm guessing they're going to be the deciding votes, because we held sort of a poll to see who people think is going to get on, and I know other websites have done the same, and for the most part there's a group of people who look like they're going to be on, but there's probably a middle group where there really are votes that could go either way. So it's kind of like these last couple of days of voting is still going to count very much so for how this cast is decided.
Now you're scaring me. You're talking about the bubble folks, and I could very well be on the bubble, maybe the low end of the bubble.
Well, you made our exit poll list, Andrew. Like
thank you.
You made ours, so the fans of our show think you're going to make it. So they've been voting for you.
All right, you just deflated my panic attack. Thank you for that.
But, I mean, it's interesting, too, I guess, with the game itself on things like social media and that, because, we know some players have been trying to, play it out there strategically a little bit, and a lot of the fans and former contestants are really trying to stir the pot and try and get you guys, I guess, into trouble almost before you go out there. How do you kind of block that out and try not to get suckered into what people are trying to do with that side of things?
Yeah, what I do, I love your use of the term sucker, because there's, kind of sucker punch. There's a bunch of stuff out there, and I just try to take the high road and realize, yes, there's definite rules. CBS has relayed to us, and they've asked us repeatedly, stick to the rules. And you know, the threat is if you violate the rules, there's 100 other survivors that want to be on that list, and they would in a second drop everything they're doing to be on that list and replace Savage on that list. So I'm just going to play by the rules at this point, and you know, hopefully, again, fingers crossed, I get a chance to play the game that I love, and then when we're in the game, then there's no rules. That's the fun part.
Exactly. And I mean, with the people that you're up against, and of course we don't expect you to name names here, Andrew, but are you looking at people right now potentially that you'd like to work with, of course ones that you would like to avoid, things like that?
Absolutely. So I've got my list. So here's what's, you know, I played 12 years ago. I can honestly say I don't know anyone on the list. I've seen them in their season, and as you know, it's a heavily edited show, so some folks get good edits and bad edits, and it doesn't necessarily accurately portray exactly who they are or what makes them tick. So what I'm doing is I got my list, pros and cons of folks, what I think are their proclivities. Are they loyal? Are they trustworthy? Can they not be trusted? That type of thing. Are they physical threats and so forth? Are they super smart and strategic? So I had my list, but I'll tell you, I'm keeping that list in my back pocket because for me, when we first hit that beach and I face-to-face and get to know the folks, that's when I can figure out, size them up, figure out what makes them tick, and it'll be interesting to see from my perspective and my proclivities if my list is actually accurate. You can't really size someone up that you never met face-to-face, so...
Makes it fascinating because, yeah, exactly. Like as you're saying, you see an edited version, and if you don't really know these people outside of the game, like you could come into a game expecting them to be completely one way. You meet them, and they're completely different. So, I mean, that's the beauty of Survivor, Andrew. That's why we love this game.
That's exactly right. Here's a good example, actually. So, Austin Taylor, the African-American guy that was on my tribe, first Survivor ever to quit, and he got a really tough edit. And I will tell you, he's one of my closest friends. And he is this larger-than-life character that has a huge heart and is the life of every party, and everybody wants to know who he is and hang out with him. You would never get that from his edit. So that's my example, is if I just watched Pearl Islands and was not on Pearl Islands and he was on the list and I was on an island with him, I would say, dude, go away. You know, you're mentally weak. You first want to quit Survivor. I want nothing to do with you. And it's the exact opposite. He's this amazing, amazing guy. So I'm going to reserve judgment until we get face-to-face and have some fun with this.
I love hearing that. I'm actually an Austin fan. I remember during your season I was rooting for Austin, so I was sad to see him quit. But yeah, I've heard great stories about him over the years. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that. And you know, they could bring him back. I think Probst has always said that he'd never want to bring quitters back. But you know, why not? It's been all these years. Surely you can forgive Austin now. Come on.
Yeah, but let's give him a chance. It'd be fun to see if he could stick it out, right?
Yeah.
You never know. Austin is completely unpredictable. He could win, or he could be, you know, he could quit on day 3. You never know.
You never know. How have you found the support from your fellow Pearl Island cast? Have you had many people out there sending messages of support, going out there on social media and maybe throwing a few votes your way?
Yeah, I have. Like the Pearl Island folks. Austin, of course, Rhino is hugely supportive, and he was very disappointed that he wasn't on the list. Ryan Opry, I was disappointed as well. I'd love to have him out there. He was my right-hand man. He got bit in the butt just like I did with the Outcast twist. And I guess the numbers didn't work out. There's just too many guys. So he was very supportive. Johnny Fairplay, I talked to him the other day. This will surprise some super fans of Survivor. Johnny Fairplay and I, outside of the game, are friends. He's a decent guy. He's in a great place in his life with his little girl and his girlfriend, and so he's loving life. He's a very good spot. But in the game, I hated him. I think we just hated each other, and I couldn't stand the Johnny Fairplay persona. So anyway, he gave me a call and just to check up, and we didn't talk about Survivor, but eventually the conversation turned to Survivor. And I'm like, Fairplay, you're a brilliant strategist. What do you got for me? And he just went, you know, checked the box, mentioned a bunch of things, which was fascinating. He's super smart. And so that was a really fun conversation. And then I got a really fun tweet asking if Fairplay was going to be my luxury item. And I tweeted back, only if his quote-unquote dead grandmother approves of it. So.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I love hearing that because, I mean, Pearl Islands is such a universally loved season, and all the returning players from it, of course, fair play, Sandra, Rupert, are up there in the the highest respected Survivor contestants of all time. So, look, it's a very elite club to be a returning player from such a great season as Pearl Islands, but I think you're in with a bit of a shot here, Andrew. I've got a good feeling about this.
No, thank you, dude. You're giving me goosebumps. I go back and forth. I honestly do. But mentally, I'm on the show, and I had to do that to kind of commit to the physical things that I had to do to prepare, and then at work wrapping stuff up. I can't just kind of half commit. I'm on the show. I've been voted on, and if I'm not, there's going to be a handful of very dark days and a lot of tequila, and. But I'll be okay.
I think it's going to be an interesting time for the 12 that don't make it on. That it's going to be a few days of darkness. But then I reckon when the season's on, I feel a lot of the 12 might come out of hiding then and want to come on and do recaps and stuff and just really rip shit into a bunch of the people that are on, saying, "Hey, I could have done better. I would have done this. I would have done that."
Yes. Yeah, armchair quarterback from the sidelines.
Yes. Just keep calling it out. But I guess too, as you said, like having to sort things out with your work and all that sort of stuff too. I mean, at least this time, I guess you don't have to lie and say, "Oh, I'm doing this for 3 months." They flat out know where you're going, Andrew. So have all these sort of things been supported by work, your family, everything? Everyone's behind you, ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So as soon as I got the call from CBS, I called a little family meeting with my wife and my 2 teenage girls. Mackenzie's 17, Skylar's just turned 15. It's her birthday today. Happy birthday, Skylar.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thanks. So we had a family meeting. I said, look, I really want to do this more than anything, but it's very selfish in me. This is a family decision. What do you think? And all 3 ladies said overwhelmingly, "Daddy, you have to do this. This is the coolest thing ever." So they're unbelievably supportive. I work at Yahoo. I'm a lawyer. I report to the general counsel. He was unbelievably supportive. So Yahoo's just a great company to work for. So everyone across the board has been very supportive, and which really touches my heart, honestly, because for me individually to go back on Survivor, it's a huge commitment, and I leave all this other stuff behind and put it on pause. So for them to support me in this just speaks volumes to the people they are and how much they care about me. And
they've all been arguing, no doubt, about who you take as the family visit. Should there be a family visit this time around?
Yeah, so there's no argument there. My wife of 20 years, hands down, is the winner. And dude, I would not pick another family member because she is gorgeous and she is tenacious. She's a great athlete, USTA tennis player, and if there's a physical challenge that she's involved in, she will most likely win. And she'll knock your socks off from a visual standpoint. So that'll be fun.
And possibly an audition for a Blood vs. Water season down the line as well, Andrew.
Yes, absolutely.
Never say never. Now, we've been given each of our Second Chance campaign interviewees here an opportunity to get up on the soapbox, spruik out to our listeners why people need to vote you back on to season 31. So, Andrew Savage, I'm giving you that opportunity right now. Speak to our listeners. Why do they need to vote for you to go back on to Survivor season 31?
Yeah, so vote for me. 2 very quick reasons. The first is the premise of Second Chance season is folks that were popular in their season and somehow got screwed by the game or a diabolical alliance or whatever. And the Outcast twist, in my opinion, was number one, the most controversial, unforeseen, unpredictable twist in the history of Survivor. The super fans were just clamoring that Mark Burnett had jumped the shark and were very much against it. And it bit me in the butt. I love the twist. I love the blindsides, the Outcast twist. I'm in favor of it. I'm just sad that it bit me in the butt. So that's the first reason. The second reason, it's been 12 years. 12 years I've been living with the torment and the pain of having my personal adventure ripped from my hands. And I say that because for 12 years, all the passion, the love, the frustration, the anger has been building up, and the only way for me to get rid of it is to get back on the show and pour it into the game that we all love. And so my ask is that you continue, please, to vote for me, and I will completely deliver and unleash all of this torment and passion and anger into the game that we love. The last thing I just want to say, by the way, is I'm a massive rugby fan.
Okay.
I played 10 years in the States. Love the Wallabies, and just want to shout out to the Wallabies. They're incredible, especially with the upcoming World Cup.
Indeed. Well, I'm glad actually we've got love for the Wallabies, because I know a lot of sort of overseas people whose rugby team isn't maybe not one of the best. Not trying to bag out America there, Andrew, but the All Blacks get a lot of love outside of Australia. I know Australians who support the All Blacks. That's how much that hurts us. So I'm glad that the Wallabies are getting some love. So thank you for that.
They deserve it. The All Blacks have enough love. The Springboks, I enjoy the Springboks as well. The Wallabies deserve the love, and they're formidable. So I'm looking forward to a deep run for them into the World Cup.
The USA are in the World Cup this year. They would have qualified, wouldn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, definitely. The U.S. is chipping away at. They were horrible for decades, and they're getting better and better. If you've seen them play in the sevens tournaments, Hong Kong and so forth, they're just, I think they're 6th or 7th or in the world, which is amazing for the Americans. So give them a few more years, and they'll keep chipping away at the leaderboard.
Well, rugby sevens is, of course, in the Olympics next year there, Andrew, and if you're sort of on that bubble there, who knows? That's a possibility of a medal in Rio next year.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah.
That'll be great. That'll be really fun to watch.
There you go. Well, look, we'll get you back on after the season, no matter what. We'll talk rugby as well as Survivor. So,
yeah, I'd love to talk. I would love to talk rugby. That'd be a blast.
Yeah, exactly. Well, mate, best of luck. We really hope to see your name called out in a couple of days and go out there and have that second shot. And no matter what, of course, get you back here on the show. But more than likely, hopefully, as the winner of season 31 in December, Andrew. We don't want to speak to you till December. We'll be rude and say that.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. In December, I'll be skinny and tanned and rich. So we'll look forward to that.
And there we go, Andrew Savage. Great to have him back on the show. And yeah, rooting for him. It seems like I'm saying that at the end of every one of these interviews, but I'm telling you now, I've been voting for Andrew Savage, and I hope you all have too, because these old schoolers, they need your help. We want to see them all out there for the nostalgia factor. So, nostalgia factor. So get out there, vote, and help Andrew get back on the show. We are nearly done for our second chance campaign interviews. Sadly, it seems that none of the other casts will be coming on the show, with the exception of Jim Rice. Now, we have Jim lined up, and we still hope to get that interview out for you, so stay tuned for that, and hopefully Jim's interview will be up very, very shortly. But you've only got a couple of days to vote. CBS.com, click on the second chance logo. Remember, 10 males, 10 females. You can vote once a day, create multiple accounts, get your favourites on there, because there are a few that are on the bubble that may miss out if you're assuming they're safe. Never assume that your favourite is safe, because that sort of mentality can maybe mean they will miss out. So make sure you get to that. SurvivorOz.com. Follow us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. Plenty of coverage coming your way. The Oscars start this week, so if you're sick of voting, maybe you won't want to vote in the Oscars, but we'll force you to anyway, because it's the biggest Survivor Award show of the year, so get excited for that. Thank you once again to Andrew Savage. This has been Survivor Oz. My name is Ben, the Tribe has spoken, and we will speak to you next time on The Trains.